its original release in 2005, Resident Evil 4 has been re-released on almost every console since, and now it's made its way over to the PlayStation 4. But is this all-time classic worth picking up again? Or has Capcom ruined an all-time great? Unfortunately, Resident Evil 4 on PS4 is basically just a slightly touched-up version of the PS3 edition of Resident Evil 4 that was released last gen. That means, of course, there really isn't too much changed up. In fact, there really wasn't that many changes from the PS2 to the PS3 re-release, other than, of course, making the resolution a bit better and making the game run a bit smoother on the newer consoles. And the game still runs smooth. There is no hiccups, slowdowns, or glitches of any kind that weren't present in the original versions of Resident Evil 4. So that means no new costumes, or DLC, or missions, or scenarios, or gameplay modes, or anything like that to really entice those who have played it in the past in order to get them to buy the game for the second, third, fourth, or in my case, fifth time. So you may ask, why even bother with this new edition of Resident Evil 4, and honestly, I can't really give you any argument to say why you should pick up this version over previous releases, except if you love those older Resident Evil 4 and you've played it on all the other systems, you might as well pick it up on this so you can say that you've played it on every generation of systems that the game's been released on. But outside of that, there really isn't necessarily a reason to go out and immediately buy it, especially if you played the touched-up edition that was released on last gen. My absolute biggest gripe, though, with this re-release is its trophy list. Now, granted, I get it, a lot of people don't care about trophies, and that's fine. But for people like me who enjoy trophy hunting, one of the best aspects of any game, even older ones, is replaying them with trophy support to try to get all of them and complete maybe elements of the game that you never tried before. And unfortunately, the Resident Evil 4 trophy list is identical to the one that was on PS3. This means that there is no platinum trophy for getting all the trophies in this version. Most of the trophies are maintained to the story mode itself, with only a couple exceptions to that, and honestly, it's a very, very lackluster trophy list at best. One thing that may entice some gamers into maybe checking it out again is the game does run in 1080p. It has been kind of improved a bit as far as resolutions and stuff to the graphics itself. In fact, looking at a comparison between Xbox One and PS4, PS4 had a slight advantage, but honestly it was minimal at best, as well as the game does have an increased frame rate. I'm not saying it stays at 60 frames for 100% of the time. I'm not really a frame rate counting kind of guy, but there was definitely no noticeable dips or slowdown of any kind during the course of my gameplay. So whatever frame rate it ran smoothly, and that's really all I care about in the end. This version of Resident Evil 4 is $19.99, just like its predecessors, or technically sequels, in Resident Evil 6 and 5, which were released earlier in the year. For whatever reason, Capcom saved, I guess, the best for last with this. If you loved Resident Evil 4 back in the day, you're still going to love it now. If you hate it then, you're still gonna hate it now. There hasn't really been anything changed up. And if you played the last version of the game on last generation of consoles, there isn't a whole lot to really bring you back in and get the game again, unless you are a physical game collector, which thankfully there actually is a physical copy for Resident Evil 4 that has been released, and the same goes for Resident Evil 5 and 6 from Capcom as well. So for game collectors, that's a nice little added addition that we didn't have last gen. If you've never played Resident Evil 4 before, and you've always been interested, now's just as good a time as ever to pick up the game and finally give it a playthrough to see what all the hype has been about for the last 12 or so years. I love Resident Evil 4, I still love Resident Evil 4 now, but for this remaster, because of the lack of really anything new, as well as the very, very lackluster trophy list from Capcom, which really honestly disappointed me in the long run, I'm going to be giving this re-release a 5 out of 10. But the game is still fantastic, don't get me wrong, the game is easily an 8 or a 9 out of 10 from back in the day when I first played it on GameCube. Just for this remaster, it really isn't anything that special. But anyway guys, that's going to wrap up this review. I'd like to thank you for watching, and of course, I hope you enjoyed.